You're listening to CX Passport, the show about creating great customer experiences with a dash of travel talk. Each episode, we'll talk with our guests about great CX, travel, and just like the best journeys, explore new directions we never anticipated. I'm your host, Rick Denton. I believe the best meals are served outside and require a passport. Let's get going. When I started CX Passport, I intended, as shown by the name itself, to make it a show where voices from around the globe could share their customer experience perspectives. While I've had the chance to talk with someone from every continent except for Antarctica, and I'm still hoping for that someday, listeners, know anyone? Send them my way. There are certain regions where I still have so much more to learn. While I've had guests from Africa, the count is much smaller than other regions like Europe and North America. To be truly global, I want to continue to learn from all regions, not just those with which I'm most familiar. That's why I'm so excited to get the chance to speak with Georges Essama today, coming to us from Cameroon. George is the head of customer relations of Cameroon Telecommunications, or Camtel, and brings a great perspective on customer experience. We'll get into his CX journey, how he got to where he is today, and what's top of mind for him in the world of customer experience today. In addition to his work at Camtel, George is a member of the Leadership Council of CXPA Africa. That leadership and perspective around customer experience comes through when talking with George. I've never had the chance to go to Cameroon, so I'm going to live vicariously today through George. It'll be fun to hear more about what travel is like there later in the show. George, welcome to CX Passport.
Well, thank you, Rick. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you today. Thank you for the introduction.
It is a pleasure for me as well. I love getting the chance to talk with you. You're a new country for me. You are a new person from a new country, and I'm excited for that. So, well, let's just start with that kind of global nature of the podcast. I really enjoy hearing what's unique about a particular region when it comes to customer experience. So how would you compare CX in Cameroon and Central Africa to other regions of the world?
Yeah, that's interesting. What I can say is that talking about Cameroon and Central Africa, customer experience is an emerging discipline, right? Mm-hmm. So the last 5 years, we just had here in Cameroon an annual CX summit just for 5 years, right? Really. Okay. So it's been 5 years that we are having annual CX summit, which is interesting. It's the beginning. And particularly for this summit of 2022, we have created the first local association of customer experience professionals, right? Okay. So that started this year. Yeah. And this year too, for example, we also published the first CX annual index for organizations and companies in Cameroon. Oh. We don't see it in Central Africa, actually, but so Cameroon is really a leading country in Central Africa talking about customer experience. So it's emerging discipline, and for sure, we have many sales professionals who are more and more interested in this discipline and changing their organizations.
That I didn't know that about the fact that you've just now started that index. I have to imagine that opened some eyes to businesses inside of Cameroon that they would see, wait, I'm low on the index, or some saying, oh, I'm so high on the index. Have you seen some behavior changes or at least some interest changes in companies now that that index has been published?
It's very interesting and very important. What the index shows is that clearly there are some businesses that are doing better, performing better than others. For example, we saw that the banking and the telecommunications sector are doing better in talking about customer experience.
Interesting.
In the country. And one of the main challenges is about the public sector. So the public sector is really like a laggard. There are so much change and so much things to do about the public sector. So more and more companies are now informed, and that there's an index that they can measure how they are performing their customer experience activities and business, and see what they can improve to be better.
You saw me smiling, and listeners, I know it's an audio only podcast, but as George was talking about the banking and telecom being high, that surprised me.
Yeah.
But then I laughed when I heard the public sector. It shows that while customer experience is different globally, it's very similar globally as well. And I would say that public sector globally almost
Yeah.
has some challenges there as well. Well, George, if you've had all this experience, right, you've been in customer experience for a while, even if you didn't know you were customer experience, you've had an interesting route into your CX career. And it always seems when I talk to guests, there's a different path entry into that career for every single person. How did you get into your customer experience career?
Yeah, very interesting. Well, I started like 12 years ago, and my first position was a customer care agent, right? A frontline care agent. So when I started, my job was really to take care of people, listening to them, and finding solutions for their problems and services, so that they can have better services, and so on and so forth. So at that time, I really discovered myself being passionate about caring and serving for people. And I think it's important for any customer experience professionals to really develop the empathy and the know-how to listen to others. So I gradually evolved, then being an account manager, and then being appointed head of customer relations sometimes later. And my job now as a head of customer relations is really to help my company, my organization, to build the foundation of a customer-centric culture,
Yeah.
customer-centric organization. So as you said, I'm working from Cameroon Telecommunications, and not strangely, but it's a public company, Rick. So
Interesting. Okay.
I'm working in a public company, and you see how far it's challenging for us, or for me, and for my team to really change that perception that people have of doing business and having, interacting as customers with public companies.
I'm curious about that. So you started as an agent.
Yeah,
So tell me a little bit about I want to spend some time later talking about your experience in a branch and kind of the front lines.
yeah.
But I want to specifically ask you about you started as an agent then and you're aware of agents now. What have you seen evolve as far as customer experience, customer service specifically with agents in Cameroon over that period of time from when you started to what it's like now?
Yeah, very interesting. I would say that at that time when I was starting as a customer care agent, we were not really knowing or thinking about improving the customer experience, right? We were just working at a position of customer service and customer care. And we were not really looking forward to develop the abilities and the capacities of improving the way we serve and the way the customer experience with people. So that's the first point. And what I see now is that more and more organizations are working so that their frontline agent not only serve in a specific position, but also those organizations develop the capacities of these frontline officers so that they can provide better customer experience from the organization. So this is somehow I see, and I think it's going to be more and more better at the time. So I think that's it.
This is your captain speaking. I want to thank you for listening to CX Passport today. We've now reached our cruising altitude, so I'll turn that seatbelt sign off. While you're getting comfortable, hit that follow or subscribe button on your favorite podcast app so you'll never miss an episode. Love it if you'd tell a friend about CX Passport, leave a review so others can discover the show as well. Now, sit back and enjoy the rest of the episode.
Yeah, I see that evolution, and heck, I see that evolution in other regions of the globe as well, even those that would say they've been at CX or customer service improvement a lot longer now. Yeah. You'd mentioned that you've been at Camtel for about 12 years now. And when you and I talked earlier, you said that there was a key point in your customer experience focus there where you were taking customer centricity beyond just the CX team and into the entire company. Now, that's a challenge in a lot of places. What did that look like for you there?
Yeah. That's interesting because talking specifically about the public sector, as I told you, it's a very challenging environment, a very challenging sector. So when I started like 12 years ago, I've till now I noticed that it's more difficult to build a customer-centric organizations, be in the public sector rather than, for example, private sector. I don't know what about is in the US, but it's really more complicated here because of, for example, too much bureaucracy. For example, the different policies that are taken by the leadership. So it's pretty more complicated. And in this time or type of situations, it is so challenging that you can have a situation like you have the leadership of the public company saying, okay, let's change things and focus on the customer, right? But you don't see any change on the front line, right? That's very difficult. And this is what we have experienced here. So we had a new CEO like in 2018, and she said, let's now focus on customer centricity and change management.
Okay.
And what happened is that she said it as a speech, but what happened, nothing really changed talking about the way customers felt about our company, the way our frontline officers were caring about our. So there was no really change because of the complications of politics. So what we have said is that being at a business unit, we are going to make that aspect, customer centricity and change management, effective, right?
Okay.
And the need of changing sorry to repeat myself, but changing the change management model.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, because actually the change management model is like going from the top to the down, saying, okay, let's just have the new vision for the business and then direct it to the front line. But we said, okay, let us do it from the top, from the down to the bottom, to the up, right? Let's not change that management, that change model. And this is what we did. So I work in a business unit which is having 40% of contribution in the global revenue of the business. So we said we are going to do customer centricity and change management from there. And we established the baseline and talking how our customer felt, the challenges. And then based on that, we built a local CX transformation program in our business unit, right? So we changed the way we were managing customers in our business unit. We implemented best voice of customer programs, voice of employee programs in our business unit, touching 900 employees in our business unit and like 100,000 customers. And the change that we have made in our business unit was so impressive that the top leadership of the company said, there's something changing in this. Yeah, there's something happening. Let us see what they are doing there.
I like this. Let's keep this going. Yeah.
So, for example, we have improved the revenue of the business unit from 50%, increasing the contribution of the business unit to the revenue of the company, changing the CSAT, the NPS in our local business unit. And they said, they are doing something there. And even the CEO finally understood it. And she even said, okay, those C-level managers, go and see there what's happening in that business unit and let us do that in the entire company. So this is an example of driving change from the down to the up in an environment where it's pretty difficult to see that change happening going from the top to the down.
You talked about changing the change management model, that it's not this top-down push. Instead, you're choosing at this local area to do that. You said something, and I don't know if it was on purpose, but the way that you described the results caught my ears in a special way. And it was, you said we'd increased our participation, our revenue into the business And then you mentioned CSAT. Then you mentioned customer scores. Do you think that, let me ask that differently. How do you think that the leadership reacted because there was a financial improvement versus a CSAT improvement? What were they focused on?
Well, I think both. They
Okay.
were focusing on both. First of all, because the perception customers had from the company, the public company as well, was pretty catastrophic.
Yeah.
So if there's a business unit which is changing that perception and improving the feeling customers have of the business, it's positive, it's interesting. And at the same time, proving that if we focus on the customers, we generate more revenue for the business and for the company, then they are totally in. So, so finally, they were sensitive to the 2 points. And clearly, statistics and research shows that the more you focus on improving the customer experience, the better you have opportunities for generating revenue. And we prove that to the business.
I could end the podcast right here. Like that right there is the brilliant quote there, George. And it is so true. And what I love is that, and listeners, if you're part of a company, right, that is trying to start something, a lot of times there's this thought of, oh, we have to have this big program. We have to start with something. Take this example that George is describing where it is, hey, we started local. We proved the results and that then expanded. And I love that approach as a way of getting your CX mission moving forward. Is you don't have to be big, start small, start local, and let it continue on.
Yeah, clearly, Rick. One of the key lessons from what we've done is this one. You can implement a change model no matter your position in your organization. You have the ability and the capacity to impact a change, which can be so impressive that your team, your managers, your boss, we don't have any other chances that to understand that it's important for you to do this.
That's right. They don't have any other choice. Look how clear it is. Oh my gosh, George, this is spectacular. Now, I had mentioned in the introduction that I've never had the opportunity to go to Cameroon. I hope to someday, right? I kind of hope to go everywhere. We'll see how long life affords that opportunity for me. But for my selfish benefit and for the benefit of the listeners, would you tell me just a little bit about Cameroon and what it's like to travel in Cameroon?
Cameroon is a beautiful country. Actually, it's located at the heart of Africa, right? And people call Cameroon Africa in miniature, like small Africa.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, cool.
Because when you're in Cameroon, you may encounter so much more aspects of the global Africa, talking about the climate, talking about the cultures, talking about the animals and so on and so forth. So it's really like Africa in miniature. We have like 10 big regions, 200 cultures and tribes. So for example, also we have the world's best peppercorn, right?
Okay. How's that for a claim? The world's best peppercorn. All right.
Yes, the world's best peppercorn. They call it peppercorn of Penja. So you can look at it. It's the world's best peppercorn. And one of the greatest mountains of Africa is also located in Cameroon. They call it Mount Cameroon. So it's really a beautiful place to visit, and I would love to see you someday coming to Cameroon. I know.
I like that. See, listeners, I do this on purpose. Right now, I've just got a personal invitation to a country, so there's that opportunity. George, do you find that you get a chance just as a resident there? Are you able to get out and explore your country and really enjoy it, and get out there, or is it one of those of because you live here, you kind of just take it for granted? What's it like living there as a traveler?
Oh my God. I'm even amazed by what I see in my own country, just to tell you that. When I see pictures, people taking pictures of places in North region, in South region, in East region, and really marketing those places, I always feel like I want to go to visit my own country, places of this country. So it's really beautiful. I tell you, it's really beautiful, and you will like it, I'm sure.
George, even if we're traveling locally, but also traveling globally, travel can be a bit of a grind. It does happen. And it can be nice to take a little break. So I'd like for you to join me here in the First Class Lounge. We'll move quickly here and hopefully have a little bit of fun. What is a dream travel location from your past?
Yeah. Well, dream travel location from my past, I had the opportunity to go to Dubai a
Ooh,
few years ago, and it was amazing. And why? Because I see that in Dubai is also a mix of culture. You see so many people coming from all over the world and having their own culture and really sharing it and expressing it somehow. And also, I had to celebrate my birthday there, so
nice.
it was an amazing time.
That always makes for a good trip when it's not only a great destination, but a particular important celebration as well. Well,
Yeah,
looking forward then, what's a dream travel location you've not been to yet?
yeah. I have a friend. She went to Senegal.
Mm.
Senegal is another African country
Hmm.
in West Africa, much more. And I saw the place. The place is really beautiful. And one of the things about Senegal is that they have an island that they call the island of Gorée Island.
Okay.
And in that place, slaves were going there waiting before traveling to all over the world.
Hmm.
So it's a place full of history, not only for Africa, but also for the world. So I would really love to go there one day.
That'd be interesting. Perhaps I'm not sure what the right adjective is. Disturbing, emotional, difficult to explore, but it would be fascinating to see that history as well.
Yeah,
Now, you had mentioned the world's best peppercorn.
yeah.
And the world's best peppercorn probably goes on some of the best things to eat. So I'm curious, what is your favorite thing to eat?
Well, very interesting. I don't know if you will know about it, but that we have a food here that we call dole.
Okay. I do not
Dole.
know
What
it,
is
but I'm learning today.
Yeah, fine. Dole is what? Dole is a vegetable that is a bitter vegetable, so it's really bitter. So we wash it to remove the bitterness, and we mix it with groundnut and meat, and even fish sometimes. And it's beautiful. It's really interesting. You love to see it, and then eat it. It's very interesting. I like it.
Okay. I'm going to have to look that one up. Sounds good. Now,
Yeah,
George, I'm curious. What's
yeah,
a thing that you had your parents forced you to eat, but you
yeah.
hated as a kid?
Ah, my God. We have another food here that we call groundnut soup.
Okay.
What is it? It's just a mix of ground nuts and you just roll it and then we cook it like a soup.
Okay.
I don't like groundnut soup. I don't like it. My parents used to give it to me, but it is not passing. I don't like it.
I love asking that question because, and it's unfortunate, listeners, you don't get to see people's facial expressions, but it just cracks me up when I ask that question each time. I get these sort of
Yeah.
pained reactions of, wait, why are you asking me this, Rick? Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh,
Well, George, when you're thinking about travel, what is
yeah.
one travel item, not including your phone, that you will not leave home without?
Hmm. Very interesting. I think it's a book I will go with. And that book for me is the Bible.
Okay.
Why? Because I feel that all the wisdom that anyone needs, you can find it in the Bible. Talking even about customer experience, the way you treat people and the way people treat you is very amazing. So I would go for the Bible.
George, I want to go back to something the beginning or the at least the early stages of your career. You had talked about
Yeah,
working in frontline branches. And
yeah,
we touched on it a little bit earlier, and I know longtime listeners of CX Passport know that I talk about the front line a lot.
yeah.
So, specifically for you, how
Mhm.
did working in a branch influence your perspective on customer experience?
Yeah. Maybe two or three things. Number one is that because I've worked in the front line, I developed my ability to understand and be empathic. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
about people. I think that quality is important for any customer experience professionals. You need to understand people for whom you are finding solutions. You need to understand their issues. I think that's the first point. Another point is that when you start as a front line, you understand better the business, right? Because something happens aside time when we just have an appointment as being a C leader or maybe at the top of the company, for some cases, you don't understand how the business goes from the beginning of everything. And I think it's important also not only to understand the business you are doing, and also make sure that you keep the contact with the business itself, the way people are really behaving themselves, the customers, the touch points. You need to stay in contact with that one. And I think it's important when you are taking decisions that you should say, okay, what are they behaving? What are they encountering right at the front line?
Right.
And another point, I mean, maybe the last one is that actually it really helped me. I discovered myself, and that I need to improve some of the skills I had, right? Talking about serving customers. So I was doing things because of passion, and then I discovered, oh no, I need to be more professional about it. And this is
Okay.
how, for example, I joined CXPA, right, and being a CX emerging leader, and so on and so forth. So I think it's really important for these three points.
Yeah. Yeah. So much of what you say is so true for you individually, obviously, but then universal as well. And
Yeah.
it surprises me when I see corporations, or when I see leaders, or when I go into a new client and I'm talking to them about how to improve customer experience, and the leadership has no connection to their front line, that they don't take input from the front line, that they're not living with the front line, that they're not experiencing, because of everything you just said. The front line knows the business better. They've built that empathetic aspect. They understand how to move between the worlds of passion and professionalism. All of that's so true. And that's why I like to talk about the front line, because it's so important, and too much of at least business seems to have forgotten that. And I'm glad to hear your story there.
Yeah. All right.
George, we talk a lot about customer experience innovation and different places along that customer experience industry journey. And I really enjoy talking to you. Mentioned, it's been 5 years that we've had events in Cameroon around customer experience, and this new indicator that you mentioned as well, the scoring indicator. What do you think is driving that growth of customer experience in Cameroon, or just the wider Central African community?
Yeah. Well, I think two important things are driving that change. The first one is how far customer needs are evolving, right?
Okay.
More and more customers are really sensitive to the way companies treat them because of competition, of course, but because also I think like people are more educated and really looking for some respect in the way companies treat them. And I think that's the first point. So clearly, customers are needing more and more businesses who are providing better customer experiences at the time. That's the first point. And the second point is that we have seen that CS professionals themselves have start to understand that they need to change it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They need to do things better. They need to not just do things like robots, or no, they really need to say, okay, what do we want people to remember from us? How can we improve people's lives? Because it's about people's lives, Rick. It's about people's lives. The way you serve me, the way you treat me, the way you receive me, you are adding or removing something. And I think it's important. People are more and more understanding that. So professionals themselves are understanding that they need to change it.
It's about people's lives. George, you've stopped me down a couple times in this episode where I just love hearing what you've said. You may need to consider kind of a side business of speaking or getting yourself out there, because you've got some really interesting wisdom. Now, let's close with this. I'm actually a little bit over time, but that's great. I kind of want to know about this. If you're talking about how you've grown your customer experience skills, I know that I really enjoy building my wisdom by talking to great guests. Like even today, I'm sitting here with getting great epiphanies from you.
Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite ways to grow your customer experience learning?
Very interesting. I think that I need to personally, I need to really have more opportunities to share what I've learned about improving people's lives, right? Because as you said, it's not just about the products and the services, it's people's lives. So companies and organizations and people taking decisions at these places, they need to understand that they need to improve people's lives as they would like other people's to improve their own life. So I think we need to increase that speech, that voice, saying that let us treat people as Jane Bliss said in one of her book, treat me like you would like my mother to be treated, or remind me to treat your mother. Mm-hmm. So let us really treat ourselves in the way that we will love our mothers. Our mothers treated us, and so on and so forth. We need to increase that speech.
I like that. Let's close with that. Let's just focus on improving others' lives. George, if people wanted to get to know more about you, learn from your wisdom, because I imagine people now will want to get to know that, or learn more about Camtel and that approach to customer experience, or even just the business in general, what's the best way for folks to learn more?
Well, I'm available on LinkedIn at Georges Essama, so you can find me there to start. I also have my email address, georges.essama@yahoo.fr, so you can also find me there.
Awesome. Well, I'll get all that on the show notes. Listeners, you know the drill. Just scroll down and you can see that there. George, you really have opened my eyes, not just to customer experience in Cameroon and the Central African region, but you've opened my eyes to customer experience overall. I have learned from you today, and that's one of my favorite things about having this podcast and having this great conversation. So, George, thank you today for what you've shared. Thank you for taking time today. I've enjoyed it thoroughly, George. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Rick. Have a great day too.
Thanks for joining us this week on CX Passport. Make sure to visit our website, cxpassport.com, where you can hit subscribe so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, you can check out the rest of the EX for CX website. If you're looking to get real about customer experience, EX for CX is available to help you increase revenue by starting to listen to your customers and create great experiences for every customer every time. Thanks for listening to CX Passport, and be sure to tune in for our next episode. Until next time, I'm Rick Denton, and I believe the best meals are served outside and require a passport.